Alright, so you got yourself some kind of a nail or a leak or obstruction in your tire. And you're on the side of the road and it's going flat. This is a good way to repair that. If you're in a shop where you're going to have this tire done correctly, you should really dismount the tire and do an inside-out patch with plug. The reason for the plug is going to fill the hole so that road debris and water and everything don't get on the patch and degrade it. But in this case, we're not going to break this tire down here on the side of the road, so I'm just going to go ahead and do a patch. So once you find out whatever it is stuck in your tire that's causing it to go flat, and we're going to remove it. But to confirm it, you can hear the air leaking, or you can use some kind of water or similar, and then look for bubbles. And this one's leaking so bad you can hardly even see the bubbles. It just blows it right out. So if you see something, you shouldn't necessarily go to plug it. You should make sure it's leaking before you do that. But in this case, I know it's leaking, and this thing's a huge lag bolt, so I could probably rip it out like this, but what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna use a socket. I'm just gonna bust it out. What you will need is the rope style plugs. These are specific. These are vulcanizing themselves. They don't require rubber cement. They're coated. It's already all on there. And so what we can do to kind of get ourselves ready is we'll take our two tools, this one being the reamer, this one being the plug installer. I'm going to hold that. I'm going to pull the rope plug. I'm going to go ahead and insert it. Sometimes they can be a pain. Depends on the specific tools. But we're going to go ahead and insert it like this. We need to make sure it doesn't get caught up on it though. Other times you kind of thread it through, but in this case it's looking pretty installed. Right in the middle, try not to get a lot of dirty fingerprints on it, because again, this has that vulcanizing material coating it, and then I'm just going to prop it up somewhere where it's not going to contaminate it. So that spot looks pretty good. And then we're going to take our tools, we're going to remove that object, and we're going to have our reamer right here on standby to get in the hole immediately. It works best if you're working on it with air. So the second we pull this, it's going to start losing a lot of air, so we want to be quick. So I'm unloosing. Oh man, that thing is a beast too. That's huge. Okay, that's the spot. So at this point, part of this reamer's job is it's going to size the hole correctly, but also it's going to break up and kind of get rid of any of the wires that are in the cords of the tire. So if those wires are exposed, they're going to kind of flex as it goes, and it's going to end up chewing our plug up. So we want to ream it pretty well, even though right now this bolt was so big that I could probably just shoot the plug straight in. But the cords, we want to break up some of those wires. So go ahead and ream it. I'm going to consider that pretty well reamed. To get this one ready on standby here, and it can take a lot of effort, so I'm going to get it started. If I have to, I might have to lay down on the ground to get enough kind of force. So here goes. Pull, insert. Now that looked easy, but it's a tight fit, and it should be a tight fit because we don't want it to fly out. That's why we use this and not a drill bit or something of approximate size. So I'm going to pull quickly. Now at this point, the plug is in there and it's having a chemical reaction to the rubber, and it's going to bond itself. So the other reason I like to carry these dikes is we can go ahead, we could clip it off carefully. Some people would tell you can leave the plug hanging, which you probably can, but I don't recommend it. It will wear down. The dikes aren't working very well. Go ahead and get yourself a razor blade or similar. In this case, I'm using my multi-tool, and I'm just going to try to cut it as flush as I can here. Okay, then while that's doing its thing, if possible, you'll go ahead and you'll set the tire pressure. Obviously on the side of the road that's a little difficult, so maybe you have a pump that plugs into the 12 volt, what used to be the cigarette outlet, or I've even used CO2 on the side of the road. But you go ahead and set your tire pressure to spec, which I'm gonna just set up to do. You guys obviously would know how to do that, so I recommend doing this now, partially because we're kind of letting the vulcanizing chemical reaction occur. So I'm going to approximate, our tire pressure set, and then I'm going to come through and kind of recheck for some leaks here. It'd be really convenient if you're in the shop and you got a Windex bottle or some kind of spray bottle, but in my case I don't, so I'm just looking at it with just some water here, looking pretty closely. I'm not really seeing much, so I'm gonna say it looks like a pretty good repair. I don't see any bubbles, so that's pretty much how you do it. And, I just realistically, I've run these plugs thousands of miles, tens of thousands of miles, and not had a problem. Sometimes though, if it's at a weird angle or it's a weird shape, this was perfectly round, so this would probably be good for the life of the tire. But I'm gonna recommend you go ahead and you keep an eye on this. You occasionally look at it, maybe check it for leaks, see if you have any real issues, and whenever possible, go ahead and dismount the tire and do a proper inside-out patch with a plug. So that's how you do it.